Well, hey everyone, it's Jeff and Jamie, and we are here with you again on another podcast.
Yes, we are. Here we are.
And where are we? That's the question.
We are in Breckenridge, Colorado.
And it is
in the
beautiful.
mountains.
Oh, we've loved this time here, haven't we?
Yes, we
And
have.
we're here with some special guests as well. Some of those guests sitting right around the table with us happen to be our children.
This is so fun. You guys have to say hi.
Yeah, you do have to say hi.
To prove that we're here.
Yes, to prove that we actually
exactly,
have people
to prove
here.
that you actually
Fake.
exist.
Hi.
So they're actually here, and Mark hasn't spoken yet, but you will hear his deep voice a little bit later on, unless...
I'm the son-in-law,
There you go.
so here I am.
So here he is. So one of the things that happened this week that's pretty cool, as we've been up here in Breckenridge, is we have the pre-release copy of the book in our hands.
The actual book.
Yes, and we were so excited. We got it just the other day.
Okay, but I have to tell you the funny thing. So we're really excited, and our son is like, "Oh, I'll video it while you open the box." So he videos us opening the box, and then when I go to watch the video, he has completely chopped off Jeff's head in the entire video. So it's this great video of us opening the book and being or the box that has all the books in it, and we're so excited, but Jeff's head isn't in any of the video.
Yeah, I got no head in the video, so we're not posting that one to Instagram.
The body only, headless Jeff is really excited about the book.
All right. So one of the things that we wanted to ask, since we have all of our kids here, we were thinking that it would be kind of fun to have them describe a little bit about what it's been like for them to live in the house with Jamie and I as we've been developing and doing all this, all the work for streaking. Because each one of, well, Megan, you haven't been necessarily in the house, but when
It's more, so first of all, we don't have all of our children here. We have some of them. I have to correct that. Some aren't
Sorry.
here.
The favorite ones.
The favorite ones are here. But it's been fun because they'll have different perspectives. So like Megan, our oldest, hasn't lived with us while but we've talked so much about it. In fact, one of our fears is that all we do is talk about it. So hopefully we'll talk about other stuff in life too.
Mom's asking me with her eyes to confirm that I'm not sick of it yet.
Okay, so you're okay that we've talked about it all the time.
Yes.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, and then we've got Natalia, who's been off and on living with us and has been listening to our podcast secretly in the background because she loves. And then Lily's here with us as well. And then we've got Mark, who's Megan's husband. So it'll be fun to see the different perspectives of what we've got. And we've got some of them that like have started streaks and some of them that haven't yet. And it'll be just fun to talk about what they're doing.
So, Megan, since you're the oldest of all of our children, talk to us just a little bit about some of the things that you have experienced, because you've been reading the book, but you were also one of the early editors of the book because you were doing it in Washington, D.C. I asked you to edit it and so forth. So just give us some of your thoughts and experiences as you've gone through the whole streaking, editing and everything that Mom and I have gone through.
Sure. So I don't even know where to start. Let's see. I'm 100 pages into the book, and it's a lot better than when I edited it.
Thank you.
We've improved.
It's been through a lot of iterations, all for the better. But I think what's been the most beneficial for me going through reading the book is I'll start over. Mom and Dad came up with the B statement kind of like 2 or 3 years into streaking. The B statement wasn't originally part of the streak. And in the book, they actually talk about, you can start streaking without a B statement and then come up with the B statement later. But for me, it was actually the reverse. I had a lot of trouble starting a streak without a B statement. And so
Now, I'm going to interrupt you. So a B statement, just so everyone knows, B statement is who you want to be. So who you are now versus who you want to be. And just a question for you, and you're going to explain this, I think, but why was that important for you? What was it important about a B statement that you really need to be a part of it?
Well, there were a lot of good things that I could start streaking, but an important part of streaking is you have to streak things that are going to add value to your life. And so there were a lot of things that I thought, well, I could start streak exercising, I could start, streak healthy eating or something like that, but it was hard. I kept feeling like it was just another thing that I was going to be doing. It was just another thing to add to my endless to-do list of stuff that I had to get done. And so until I knew what I wanted to be, where I was going, I didn't want to start streaking without a destination. And so when I read the B statement,
That's really good. Streaking without a destination. We probably should have had that as a chapter.
Yeah, we should add that. Book 2.
book 2.
Next book.
All right. So keep going.
Two-parter.
Yeah. book 2, two-parter.
So when I read the B statements, I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I want to be? I'm going to start out with something really simple, because that's another part of streaking methodologies. You start out, well, that is streaking methodology, but I wanted to start with something that I could win. So I thought, well, I really like to read. I'm going to start keeping track of that, and I'm going to make it a daily thing. So my B statement is I want to be someone who reads and retains information. And the streak that came out of that was I want to read at least one page of any book a day. And now I've been doing it for 60 plus days.
Now you have to know something about Megan. She is an avid reader already. In a year, how many books will you average on reading?
I don't see. I got to streak it because I don't know how many books I read.
365.
One a day.
Yeah, but it's a lot. I mean,
It
you
is.
enjoy
I'd
reading
say-
already.
I'd say roughly around 30. I probably average 30 books a year.
Megan's one of those people that her idea of a fun thing, like rewarding herself, is that she buys herself a book. That's a reward. When I've done a good job, I can buy myself a new book.
And that's why we love getting Christmas gifts for her, because she usually gets books.
Yeah,
It's easy.
and I'm happy with that.
So anyone in our listening audience, if you want to get Megan a book for Christmas,
That's
she
fine
will
with me.
she will gladly accept it. Any genre, any particular requests that
Any
you have?
genre.
Any genre.
Just make it good. Actually, there's this great new book that I just got yesterday, pre-release, signed by the authors.
Wow.
Streaking, 100
Yeah.
pages in, really great.
So I think that that's pretty significant as far as knowing your destination, because when Jamie, when you and I started streaking, we just started doing it without necessarily a destination. We just looked at it and said, we want to be consistent in some areas of our lives. And then later on, we developed into what the B statement was.
Yeah, I would definitely say our experience streaking has been evolutionary. It has evolved into something, which is the whole fun of the book, is that really it's just about our journey and how it's evolved into something that's been helpful for us.
As we have Mark here as the son-in-law, and
Hello.
we've almost cast him out of the family because he is not a streaker yet.
Can you imagine that being a requirement for the family? You have to streak in order to be a part of the family.
Listen, I'm working on my body. It's not quite there yet.
And
This is exactly why I wanted to go with a different title, but here you go, changing it around.
all right.
We love Mark. Mark's never going to get cast out of the family.
Oh,
He's
no.
in for good.
Yeah, Mark is phenomenal. So, Mark, you've kind of been on the outskirts, though, watching and seeing, and Megan's been involved with this and so forth. What have been
Yeah.
some of your thoughts and impressions?
It's definitely been a fascinating journey to see how much more the family has talked about streaking since it's become an idea for just you two, for Jeff and Jamie. It used to be that, every other dinner conversation was about a different topic, and maybe once a week they would talk about streaking, and now it is every dinner conversation topic.
It happens. We're sorry. It does happen. Mark has threatened to leave the family several times, but we've paid him and we've asked him to stay. And plus, Megan is so beautiful and wonderful. He wants to stay anyway. So
Definitely. And not necessarily that it's there. And I would say that's mostly due to the fact that there's more depth to the topic than perhaps there was when it was first discovered by Jeff and Jamie, which has been fascinating to see all these different topics that you can discuss with something that I would consider just to be one topic, that there's so many sub areas.
I'm with you. So, question for you: have you thought about like starting streaks or looking at streaking as something that you want to get, that you want to do? Is it something that is, I don't know if compelling would be the word, but
I get
it
what
draws
you're
you in? I don't know.
A lot of, I think everything in streaking that I've heard is 100% beneficial, and I think it's something that I would recommend almost everyone to do. I've mostly just the time that I am in my life right now, a lot of my mental energies are not so much focused on my habits, mostly my destinations. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and I will say that the most compelling part of streaking that I have found are the B statements, kind of like what Megan was mentioning, where I do like to imagine myself in 10 or 20 years and think about the person that I will become. And I realize that streaking is a very essential tool to get there. So in that instance, it's very compelling. Maybe I just haven't taken the leap yet. I don't know, but
You have not drunken the Kool-Aid yet.
and for context, I don't like drinking Kool-Aid very, I'm not a passionate person with a lot of things. So maybe that's part of it.
I think, well, here's the thing with Mark. I think he has adopted some of the streaking methodology. He just hasn't taken the final leap to start recording it and to make it an official streak.
He's waiting for the app.
He's waiting for the app. Because, I mean, we're about to go to law school, small plug, and he's humble brag. Humble brag. That's what it is.
Yeah, the plug would be the book. That would be a humble
yes,
brag. Yeah,
yes.
we've really worked hard to go to law school, and we've both
I mean,
been
I know
accepted.
mom and dad are releasing a book, and now they're published authors. Mark and I are just headed to law school.
That was a very
And to
effective humble
clarify,
brag.
Thank you.
Yeah, that
That's
was excellent.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's both of us. And so, but Mark has been really, really diligent about preparing for law school. There hasn't been a day where he hasn't done, one laughably simple thing to prepare for law school, whether that be checking on our prep course or reading something that has to do with law school or getting his books. And so I think it's just taking that final step. Tally's right. He's waiting for the app, an easy way to record how many streaks he has and what he's doing.
You bring up a really good point, because that is one of the biggest challenges, I think, of streaking, is finding that easy, effective way to record it. We've had a lot of people actually say that.
And I do acknowledge that a large part of it is the convenience
Yeah.
of it. I mean, if it's in an app, that's a lot easier for me to do than open up an Excel workbook or whatever technology I might be using at the time to record it. I'm usually exhausted by the end of the day.
Right.
So,
Just that added step of
I
having to record.
have started recording streaks, and then, maybe 2 weeks in, I've just had a really long day. And, once I've broken it, it's just been a lot harder to go back and do that recording in Excel.
Yeah.
Whereas an app that has, a convenience added to it, reminders, it's intuitive, I think that's a totally different ballgame.
We're working on it, Mark. We're trying. It's almost there.
I did see it yesterday, and it looks very good. I'm very excited for its release.
Which, speaking of, why don't we just, Jamie, you've been alpha testing the app. Just give us a little bit about what's some of the experience that you've had so far. Because the app, it is one of the things that law number one is all about laughably simple things that you're doing. The app has to be laughably simple to use as well.
I agree. So I'm actually super excited about the app. The thing that's cool so this is something that the developers added to it so when we started this, Jeff put together kind of a PowerPoint to say, this is what we want the app to look like. And we sent that over to the developers. And when it came back, it was good. And then we got to the point in the book that we were able to send the book to the developers so that they could read it, so that they could have a better understanding of the methodology. And it's interesting that after they read the book, the app changed dramatically, and it centered a lot more on what they included is a place where you can put your B statements and organize your streaks according to your B statements, which I really loved. It really helped me to kind of to validate your point, Megan, that it gave purpose behind what we were doing, which is interesting. That's where the whole B statement originated, from somebody questioning the purpose of why we were doing this. Are you just doing it to do it? Or, what's the point of having a streak? And when he questioned that, once we got past the being completely offended that he would have questioned our idea and actually thought, oh, that's a good question. Why are we doing this? Once we got to that, recognized, the whole idea of, well, we're doing this to become something more than what we are right now, to help us to become the people we want to become. So I love that the app focuses on the B statement, and then the simplicity of it is great, because each time I look at it, I can see what I've done and what I still need to do. And it's as simple as just pushing the dot, and then it's complete. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's really, really quite cool. Now, an early reader of the book was Natalia. And Natalia, you had an interesting experience, because you had tried streaking before you'd actually read the book. However, it was only when you read the book that you kind of got it and went forward with it. Is that right, or am I completely wrong?
Well, so I had started streaking kind kind of when mom and dad really started getting into it. I was in the house. I hadn't graduated from high school yet when they really started kind of coming up with this idea and this thought. And so I had actually a couple of streaks that I had for over 100 days. But then I actually left on a mission trip for a year and a half, and I dropped all of them. And that was before the methodology or anything like that. And just because of the limited contact, I didn't hear a lot about streaking until I had come home again a year and a half later. And so then the book had gone through all of the drafts, and mom and dad had developed the B statement that we've been talking about and all of those different types of things. And I was a little angsty is not the correct word, but I was like,
Angsty? I don't know if I've ever heard the word angsty. Have you heard that
I'm
word?
pretty sure it's a word.
Yeah, usually it's like teenage angst.
Gotcha.
You are kidding. It really is a word.
It is. It's like AGNST, angst.
Angst. Angsty, though?
2 points for Megan. for the
There's your
spelling bee.
vocabulary word, Dad. Reviewed.
That's a great review.
Check.
Check the box, baby.
But so I was talking to Dad, and I was like, I haven't heard anything about streaking, and I really wanted to. And he sent me a copy of the the finished draft that was currently in the works to be published. And I read through it in 2 days, and it all kind of just clicked for me. The idea of the different laws of no record, no streak, laughably simple, and I'm blanking on the other one.
Create a community.
Oh, and creating a community. And just also the examples of people that have kept streaks in the past I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. And up until that point, I had started streaks just like Mark was talking about and kept them for about 2 weeks. And then I was like, and dropped them. But after reading the book, it just, it clicks. You're really going to have to experience it yourself by reading the book. All of these things that mom and dad have been talking about through this entire time really come together. And so since then, I've kept almost all of my streaks that I set. I have, I think, 13 that I'm going through right now, and I just hit 75 days of doing 10 squats and 10 push-ups a day. So
And you're significantly less angsty, which is a word, confirmed. Definition: informal, feeling, showing, or expressing anxiety, apprehension, or insecurity, marked by angst. Angsty teenagers, angsty song lyrics. I think I spelled it right. It's ANGSTY.
There we go. You got it. Natalia, you mentioned you have 13 streaks. Now, we don't recommend starting with 13.
I wouldn't recommend that either.
Because it's one of the things, it's what you're doing is taking an opportunity to get very consistent in a particular area of life that you want to be consistent, and proving to yourself that you can be that you can be that kind of consistent. In other words, you're doing that on such a consistent basis that the next one you start, you know that you're going to do. Is that right?
Well, and I actually started one that I was like, I'm already doing this. Like, I didn't even have to really integrate it into my life. And I gave it just to give that momentum to myself of keeping track makes a difference. Because even though I knew I was already doing it every day, being able to see and have a record of how many days I'd been doing it gave me the momentum to then be like, okay, I could start another one, and the motivation and the confidence to keep that up.
I was actually going to ask you, Mom and Dad, because I have a similar streak to Tally, my reading every day streak. I'm pretty sure I already did that, but now with my streak, I know I do it every day. But I call it kind of a cheat streak because I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I already do this every day, and it's really not going to be that hard. So is that a thing? Are cheat streaks a thing?
Yeah. So you said two things that I wanted to comment on. One, I think it's totally appropriate to start, not only appropriate, but recommend starting with something that you feel good about starting with, that's going to be like, okay, what you would call your cheat streak, something you feel like you're already doing. What I loved, though, that you said, and you're not the first person to say this to us, people would often come up to us and say, well, I have a streak. Well, I think I do. I've done it most of the time. I'm pretty sure. And that is one of the things that we really recognized kind of early on as we started recognizing. I'm not comfortable saying that we discovered this, because I feel like the ideas of keeping things simple and keeping a record and having a community are kind of truths that have been out there. We just put them together in a methodology that works. So that's more anyway, the point that I was making is that that being able to have something that you start with that gives you confidence, then when you keep a record of it, being able to say exactly what you said, well, I think I was doing it before, but now I know that I was. That's a huge part of what happens in streaking is you get that level of confidence.
And I think, go ahead, Natalia.
I think also the idea of like a cheat streak I don't think that would exist in streaking, right? Because we don't use the word just, right? That's a 4-letter word. Right. I'm getting eyes right now. But the idea is the small and simple things count. Like those things add up. And just like Mom was saying, that just seeing how long you've been doing it really does, it counts.
I think that there's one other thing, Megan, that you were saying, and to your point, Natalia, is when you keep a record, one of the things that you just said, Megan, is you said, well, I know I read all the time, and I think I read all the time. When you have a record, you're confident. There's no question whatsoever that you do this. You're like, you know what? I've got this. So now we're coming in with Lily. Lily's got a thought on this, and she has had an interesting experience with streaking. She seems to think we always tell the bad stories about her breaking her streaks or whatever it is. But what were you going to comment on as far as the credibility of keeping a record?
Oh, I was going to say, so I'm a dancer, and basically, sorry.
We just had a little technical malfunction. We're good. We're back.
And I was talking to one of my dance teachers, and she was telling me about how I needed to be stretching every single day. And I was stretching pretty consistently, but I was not keeping a record of it. And keeping a record when I had a small streak to stretch, like 80 days or something, keeping a record made me be able to have the confidence to be like, yes, I stretch every day, and tell her in full confidence that I was stretching. Mm-hmm. So to speak to that, yeah.
And you know what, that's key. Now, Lily, you are currently, so we didn't give ages, but I'll give you a thought. So Mark and Megan are headed to law school. They've graduated. When did you guys graduate from college? They're looking
2018.
And Mark comes in with a big 2018. All right. And Natalia is in her sophomore year and of college. And Lily, you are
going to be a junior this year in high school.
We think. I mean, if school actually ever goes back in session, you may.
True.
But and so you're looking at it now as far as dancing and other things. I mean, are there other things that you've thought about maybe that wanted to start streaking but haven't, or how have you thought about it? I mean, being in high school, does it apply differently, or do you see things the same, or what do you see about it?
Being in high school, I think that it applies a little bit differently because I am going to school and stuff like that. And so I think that one of the main things is the laughably simple law. Oftentimes I would think that I was the person who used that's my chapter in the book, the just chapter about, well, I'm just doing this. And what I think is interesting about that is that when I would stop doing my streak, I would do nothing. So I was doing more than what I was doing before. So like when I had a streak to read my scriptures, after I stopped, I was doing significantly less than what I was doing before. And I think that's kind of when streaking really started to click, is when I was like, oh, I'm doing more, even though it's just a little bit. Well, not just, even though it's a little bit, I'm doing more than I would have originally. And I think that's where it kind of keys in.
That's why, Lily, I so appreciate the times that we've talked about your streaking. One, as you were talking, I thought, I love your streaking, the streak that you set for stretching, because I've seen some of the stretches you do, and it would not be laughably simple to me. It would be deadly. And so it lends itself to the point that you have to set your own laughably simple streak, because your stretches are not laughably simple to me, but to you they were. The second thing is, we have spent so much time talking about, I know that one of the hardest laws for streaking that people will have is to be able to keep it laughably simple. The idea that doing something small is going to have a level of impact. And we spent a whole long time just the other day talking about why it's easier to do nothing than it is to do something little. And one of the thoughts that I had is that I think what happens is we get busy in life, and we look at where we want to be, and it's farther away than where we are right now, but we're excited to get to that place. And so, but we look at today and we think, today I'm super busy. I've got this and this and this. I don't have time today, but tomorrow I'm going to have time, and tomorrow I'm going to do it well, and it's going to be beautiful. And it's an understanding. It's this looking forward with this hope that you're like, I can be who I want to be. I just can't do it right now. I can do it tomorrow though. And so when we have that mentality, it's easy to say, well, it's okay that I'm not doing a little thing today because tomorrow I'm going to do it big and it's going to look awesome. And so what happens is that lots of tomorrows string together, and maybe you didn't get to it. And so that's where the power of streaking comes in, is it's being able to say, you know what, I'm going to do a little bit today, and I'm going to do a little bit tomorrow, and I'm going to do a little bit the next day. And I know that with confidence. But it is interesting that you have to overcome that desire to do it bigger and better tomorrow in order to be okay with doing a little bit today.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that, going back to stretching, I think that stretching is one of the things that can really, I guess, key in on this point, as in you cannot just go and do really, really big stretches and then be super flexible. You have to do it every single day in order to see improvement. And I think that's kind of what you guys are keying into with everything, where it's like you can't just do it one time. You can't just run 3 miles and then be super, super skinny the next day. You know what I mean?
Why? Really? Why?
Well, and I think to Mom's point as well is that we have this inherent desire to do the things that we do to the best of our ability. And for some reason, we don't see the simple, small things as to the best of our ability. And I think that's not a bad desire. That's a good desire. I think the perspective just needs to be changed, that the best of our ability can happen over a long period of time. For example, I started Olympic lifting just 5-6 months ago. And there's a lot of different components that go into an Olympic lift called the snatch. And one of them is a squat. And the squat it can't be just a regular 90-degree squat. It has to be a full squat. I wish I could describe that to you in better words, but when everything with COVID hit, so I had a gym that I was going to consistently when I was living at college. And when everything with COVID hit, I actually ended up coming home to Georgia, and I was frustrated because I couldn't go to the gym anymore and, use the barbell, use all of the weights that are there. I couldn't do it to the best of my ability, what I felt was the best of my ability. And so after a little bit, I begrudgingly set my 10 squats a day streak. I was like, that is so small, but I have to do something during this time period. And so I did it. I'd been keeping 10 squats a day, and I recognized that I started focusing on my mobility, and I started getting my squat a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. But sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I did squats where I sat in a chair for 10, and I was like, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to sit down 10 times. But so recently, I just was able to put all of the components together to do my first full snatch.
Wow.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Dad.
That's awesome.
And I sent a video to my friend that's been helping me to do this, and she goes, wow, so you could fix this and this, but your mobility looks great. And I attribute that to my streak of
The
10
small and
squats.
simple. We've focused a lot on some of the physical streaks that people have set, and those are often sometimes the easiest to identify right up front. But there's another streak that you had, Natalia, that was playing your guitar, and you said something to me quite interesting. You said that in all the years that you had practiced the guitar, you hadn't made as much progress as you did with a streak of playing at least one chord daily for 3 or 4 months. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is actually kind of funny. So I got a guitar when I was like 12, and I had lessons for a couple of years, and then I completely dropped it. And I only really got to being able to play like 1 or 2 songs cohesively, or is that coherently? Thank you.
Whichever vocabulary
We
word
always
we're
look
on
to
today.
the grammar.
To the grammar expert over there. Megan, please help us.
Coherently for 50 points.
And so I have 2 guitars that hang on my wall, and so that was another thing that I decided I wanted to pick up during this time. And I played one chord. There were some times that I was in bed and it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was like, oh crap. And I would roll out of bed while the guitar was still hanging on the wall, place my fingers on the G chord, and strum it with the wrong hand. And I counted it. And
And there we go, people.
but it's
A
fascinating.
true streaker. Now, some people may say that that's a little obsessive compulsive. I mean, however, that is one of the things when you get that consistent with yourself and you say, I'm going to do that. One of the things that we studied is the professionals, the people that are masters in their chosen field, be it a chess player, be it a scientist, be it an architect, be it, any athlete. What they do is that level of dedication to the mundane. That's one of the things we look at, to the mundane, as far as that's concerned. Well, guys, this has been an awesome conversation, and we've had a lot of fun having it. It's amazing how quickly the time flies by. Just one last word. Any last thoughts? Megan, you're up.
My favorite thing about streaking, and this is kind of on the flip side of what we've been discussing, is that in every streak there's the words "at least." And so sometimes for me, the streak just gets me started. I don't know. Mark and I, we run, and the hardest part about running is getting up and getting out the door. After that, you're like, well, I might as well do this. I'm already out here. And so the streak for me sometimes is just the spark that I need to start reading, or the spark that I need to, drink my water or read my scriptures. And I like that it's the at least that you can just, sometimes I just need the kickstart. And the streak does that for me.
And that, it short circuits the brain's response to be lazy, because the brain naturally wants to be lazy. It wants to conserve energy. And so what you're doing is, like you said, the spark, it's short circuiting it to say, I can at least do this much. I can at least sit in the chair and stand up, or I can at least put my fingers on the guitar and strum it a couple of times. And that gets you where you need to go. Mark, last words.
Yeah, so from all the great points that have been brought up, I think just the common thread that I've been able to pick out is that I feel like streaking somehow fills the gap between procrastination for very active people that don't typically procrastinate, but that there's this gap that will come out because of, or that will exist because of natural events, being tired, being exhausted. And it does seem that streaking fills in this gap between just trying your best, but also trying to compensate for those days where you just really can't do anything. So it does seem that streaking does fill in this gap a little bit.
I love that.
One of my favorite things about
This
streaking.
is Lily coming in with her last word.
This is Lily. Last words. One of my favorite things about streaking is that it's all in a positive mindset. It's never removing something. It's adding something to, like Megan said, to become what you want to be. And I think that's one of my favorite things, is that it's in this positive light. Not so much like I want to stop doing this, but I want to get better at this.
There's a chapter about that in the book.
There is?
Yeah, the story with the milk and Tally and
Oh,
replacing
that's right,
the
there is.
That's my cameo in the book.
Tally. Do you want to do that as your? Never mind. You can do whatever you want as your last thought. But
Just consider
it's in the book.
It's in the
Pre-order the book on Amazon.
Natalia, last words.
Oh, I was just gonna say to Mark's point and the B statement, really just, it's attainable. Like the things that you think are so far away, the person that you really want to become is attainable. And I feel like streaking has given me that confidence that it is.
That's awesome. Guys, I'm so excited. This has been super fun for me. When my kids all go back to college and to their regular life, I'll just listen to this podcast and be like, oh, there's my family. I just want to thank you guys all for being here and listening. One of the things that I loved as we ended was just that recognizing that this is the opportunity for, one thing that Megan said as she was reading the book today, she said, I loved that you guys are ordinary people, which we're not so extraordinary. We're not accomplishing amazing things. And the reason that streaking even came about is because we needed help being a little bit better at accomplishing some things. And so I loved that as you read this, I hope as you read this book, that you'll be able to recognize that you can start right now in the smallest, simplest ways, being able to add to your life the things that you want to do that help you become who you want to be. And that was our whole purpose in writing this, is to share that regular, ordinary people who struggle a little bit to be extraordinary, that this is a way that can help you. And so thanks for listening.
Yeah, that's all for this week. And this is Jeff and Jamie, and we are so grateful we had our special guests. If you'd like to ask us a question or share with us your streak, please do so. Email Jamie at JAMI@streakingmastery.com, or you can email me at Jeffrey, JEFFERY, at streakingmastery.com. Otherwise, you can find the book on Amazon. It launches September 22nd is when it's going to be available, and we'll be shipping then, September 22nd, and that is also on ebook as well. Guys, I just realized that it was actually posted in all of the different ebook stores as well. And then we'll have the Audible out there for you as well. So until we talk again, everyone, keep streaking.
But I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push up, become a better you. It's the small